Welcome to Shadow to Soul, the podcast where real human stories meet deeper soul lessons behind them. I'm Darshni, a regression therapist and a soul guide. In this episode, we're stepping away from story into understanding. I want to offer clarity around this work, what it actually looks like, and how it unfolds. Today, we're exploring one of the most frequently asked questions. What happens in a regression therapy session? It's powerful and often life-changing work, yet it remains deeply misunderstood. When people hear the word regression, many feel uncertain or hesitant, often because they don't understand what the process involves. There is a lot of confusion around regression therapy and hypnotherapy and hypnosis, largely shaped by misinformation than lived experience. In reality, this work is gentle, grounded, and deeply respectful of the nervous system. It is not dramatic or overwhelming and unfolds in a way that feels safe and natural. To understand regression therapy, it is important to understand the role hypnosis plays. Therapists use hypnosis as a way to access the subconscious mind. Hypnosis is simply a trance state. It is a natural state of being which we all experience every single day. When we drift off to sleep, when we wake up, or when we become deeply absorbed in a book or a movie or our own thoughts. Have you ever watched a movie and eaten through a whole tub of popcorn and not realized it? That was because you were in a state of trance. Or have you ever driven somewhere and got to your destination and not even realized that you've got there? Again, that was you driving in a state of trance. During hypnotherapy, we are simply deepening this familiar state of trance so the conscious mind can soften and the subconscious becomes accessible. And this is also where an important distinction needs to be made. Clinical hypnosis is not the same as stage hypnotism. And this is where much of the misinformation begins. Stage hypnotism is done for entertainment. Clinical hypnosis is used therapeutically with care, intention, and respect for the individual. Hypnotherapy and regression therapy are only possible with client consent. If you did not want to engage, or if you did not want it to work, it simply would not. This is because the subconscious mind is not controlled by the therapist. It is your subconscious mind that dictates what is ready to be healed, what is ready to be seen and processed. You are never overridden, you are never forced. You are always an active participant in your own healing. And it is that participation that makes healing possible. The role of the conscious mind in regression is not to analyze or judge. It is to bring the wisdom of the adult into the experience of the child. Trauma is formed when something happens before we have the capacity to understand it. The child experiences the pain, but doesn't have the language, perspective, or the safety to process it. In regression, it is the adult you today that meets that younger child. It is your adult wisdom that helps understand what happened, your adult wisdom that makes sense of it. And it's your adult presence that allows acceptance to form. It's within that understanding that acceptance becomes possible. And once acceptance is reached, that emotional charge can finally resolve. This is how healing happens. The therapist does not give you answers. They don't interpret your experience for you. They simply facilitate the journey. They hold a safe space for you to be able to do this. The answers always come from within because only you know what the truth is. And it is your adult consciousness that helps the child find peace. This means that clinical hypnosis is not mind control. You're not unconscious. You're not being made to recall anything against your will. You're still able to think, make your own decisions, to speak, to pause, or to stop at any time. You're always in control. In fact, hypnosis is so alarmingly normal that when you come out of a trance, aside from often feeling lighter, calmer, more rested. Many people question they're even in a trance at all. That's how natural it is. So regression therapy is a guided journey into your subconscious, the part of you that remembers everything that your conscious mind cannot. It is where emotional imprints live, where childhood memories are stored, where inherited emotional patterns and ancestral pains are stored. This is where past life echoes surface and where lifelong patterns begin. Regression is a purposeful journey through the subconscious mind, guided by what is ready to be seen beneath the trigger, the reaction, and the story you tell yourself. There isn't one fixed way a session begins. Some sessions begin with a gentle relaxation, much like a guided meditation, gradually turning awareness inward. From that place, the trance deepens comfortably, and clients remain comfortable and at ease throughout. But other sessions begin very differently. Sometimes a client arrives carrying a high emotional charge, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, grief. In those moments, we don't move away from what's present. We work with it. The emotion itself becomes the doorway. Attention stays with the feeling, and the trance deepens through focus, not through relaxation. In both cases, the conscious mind remains present. You're aware, you can think, you're not being taken anywhere. The only thing that shifts is that judgment quietens down. And when that happens, the subconscious responds in a way that is right for that person in that moment. The work always follows the client, not a formula, not a fixed method, but what the nervous system is ready for. The session is always led by the client's subconscious. The therapist simply just asks the right questions. In regression, you don't follow thought or logic, you follow the feeling. The emotion becomes the doorway. Anxiety, grief, anger, fear, they guide the session. They guide the journey. So rather than avoiding the feeling, you're gently guided towards it. And as you follow that emotional thread, the subconscious takes you exactly where it needs to go. What emerges in regression always leads back to an inner child. An inner child is simply a younger version of you, a part of you formed at a time when you didn't yet have the capacity to understand, process, or regulate what was happening. The younger self might be from childhood, from the womb, or even from a moment much later in life. The inner child is often connected to a forgotten or repressed memory in childhood. Sometimes it's clearly remembered, other times the clarity comes gradually. Sometimes these are seen clearly, like a movie playing in your mind. Other times they're sensed, felt, or just simply known. Not everyone experiences regression visually. Many people expect it to appear like a movie playing in their mind, but that isn't always the case. Some people see images, others feel emotion in the body, others sense or know what is happening without seeing anything at all. All these experiences are equally valid. They all lead to the same place. Even when regression brings up what we call a past life memory, there is always an inner child in this lifetime connected to it. A moment where that older imprint was activated through a younger version of you. What matters is not how the experience presents itself, but that the emotional charge is accessed and met with awareness. Past life regression is not about proving anything or recreating literal history. It's about emotional truth. It's about healing. You don't have to believe in past lives for this work to be effective. As therapists, we use the term past life as a way of describing an experience that does not belong in this lifetime, but it can also be understood as ancestral memory, inherited emotional patterns, or imprints carried through the body. Whether someone believes in past lives or not has no impact on the healing. If the subconscious brings forward an experience that is clearly not from this lifetime, but the body and mind are holding an emotional charge from it, then it's relevant and needs processing. Whether it's interpreted as a past life, ancestral DNA, or symbolic memory, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that once it's processed, healing occurs, and that healing leads to a positive, empowered shift for the person. A regression session does not end at understanding, it ends at release. That release can take many forms. Sometimes it's emotional, through tears, breath, or a sense of relief. Sometimes it's energetic, as though something heavy is leaving the body. And sometimes it's clarity, when the mental fog lifts. What's being released is not the memory itself. It's the emotional charge that was held in relation to that memory. After understanding, there has to be acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean approval. It doesn't mean what happened was okay. It just means that the nervous system no longer fights the reality. And in my experience, the easiest way to come into acceptance, and the most profound way, even with the most painful or traumatic experiences, is to understand why the soul needed to move through it. Because somewhere within that experience was something the soul needed to learn and to evolve through. And this is where my work goes deeper than traditional regression therapy. I help you understand the soul contract beneath the wound. Because trauma is not just emotional, it is purposeful. It shapes who you become. It teaches boundaries, strength, compassion, and awareness. It guides evolution. And when meaning is found, resistance softens. And when resistance softens, the emotional charge can finally release. Nothing happens to you, everything happens for you, for your soul's evolution. Every wound carries a lesson, every trigger holds a message, every collapse serves a purpose. I'm sharing this now because before we move into real client stories this season, I want you to understand the power of this work, how it actually unfolds, how deeply it touches the human spirit, and how possible healing becomes when you finally meet the original wound beneath the trigger. So I invite you to reflect on this. What emotion in your life today feels bigger than the situation? And what might that emotion be pointing you towards? Thank you for being here with me. If this episode brought you clarity or softened something inside you, sharing it may help someone who feels alone in their journey. Until next time, from shadow to soul.